Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to recap the games that I played in the month of September 2023, talk to you a little bit about each game, give you some stats on how many games I played, and highlight some of my favorites. So if you're curious to see how my month of September was on the gaming table, stay tuned. So I'm going to recap the games that I played from least played to most played, kind of in reverse order that way. I had 45 gameplays in the month of September, which was pretty good. Although I'll have to say it's kind of a cheat. I'll explain that when I get to my most played game. And that included 13 different games, 7 of which were new to me. So one of those that I just played once, this little tiny box here from Alley Cat Games, Tinderblox. This is the Sunrise Edition with the Marshmallow expansion. So we had some fun. We just actually played this one last night as kind of a quick getting the night started as we played a few games with some friends. It's a dexterity game where you're using either your right or left hand, depending on the card that you flip, to stack little wooden pieces that represent either logs or flames or marshmallows, and you have to stack them according to the card that you flip. So cute little dexterity game. We've had a lot of fun playing versions of this with the grandkids, but Tenderblocks just played once, actually just last night. Next up is one that I don't own, but my friend brought over. It is Sunrise Lane, and it is a game by Reiner Knizia, who's one of my favorite board game designers. And I really enjoyed this game. It felt a little bit like Ticket to Ride in terms of the set collection of the cards and playing those, but there was a 3D dimension to how you were building, and there were also regional dimensions and longest chain kind of dimensions that you were trying to keep track of as you were moving. And he taught the game to me in probably 5 minutes, and I think with the teach and the play, I'm pretty sure it was under 30 minutes for the first time I'd ever played it. So just a two-player game. But it was really enjoyable. I liked it a lot and would love to play it again. Again, don't own it yet, but if I found a really good deal on it, I might trade for it or buy it used or something like that. I really did enjoy it and would love to play it again. Next up is one that I've owned for a while, but just never got around to playing. And that same friend who taught me Sunrise Lane was able to teach me this one because he was familiar with it. And so this one, there was a lot of really interesting cooperative card play, and there was a little bit of push your luck at times, and there was just important timing things. We did eventually win, but it was really close. And it was brutal some rounds, especially the first round. We just got our butts kicked. It is enjoyable, but it seemed a little long, so I'm torn on this one. This is one that I wouldn't mind playing again, but it might be on the chopping block in terms of one that I might trade away. I don't know. I kind of want to play it again, but it felt a little long for what the game was for me in terms of my gaming preferences. But what the game had, I really liked, so that's where the torn part comes. But Set a Watch, I just played it one time, so I probably need to play it a couple more times, by Rock Manor Games, created by Todd Walsh. Really good game. And maybe we were just slow. Maybe if I had known the game better, we might have been able to play a little bit faster. All right, the next one up is one that I've played a number of times, and that is Ra. Played it again at one of our game nights, and this is a game that I just never feel like I'm going to do well at, but then for some reason, I always do reasonably well. I don't always win, but it came down to me and one other player, and I was, I think, like 2 points off or something like that. So, yeah, I never feel confident in this game, but I always do reasonably well. At least, I've only played it 6 or 7 times, but I kind of surprised myself with it. I don't feel like, I probably have not won more than I've lost, but I always feel like I'm just going to be dead last, and then somehow I'm always kind of in the running, at least it seems like, or almost always. So I've enjoyed it. It's a bidding game. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the decisions and the timing that's required to be good at this game, and that's why I think I just don't feel confident in it. But I love the production of this new version, this 25th century version of another Reiner Knizia classic. And I think maybe it's something about bidding games. I just don't ever feel like I know for sure when the right time to bid is, and you're bidding on the tiles you're trying to gain, and they all score in different ways, but you're also bidding on the bidding token. And so there's a lot of things to think about. The timing of it's really important. And really the only reason I came close on that one was I just saved my bidding tokens in the end, and then I just ran the board and got tons of tiles. And so that last round almost caught me up to the leader. So yeah, every game's been different. Like some games I've kind of felt like I was in it, although I wasn't ever sure quite how I was. This game I kind of felt like I was behind the whole game, and then kind of made a massive run in the last round. So an interesting game. I always like it, but I just never feel confident in it. So that is Ra by Reiner Knizia. The next one just played last night for the first time. I had learned the rules recently. It's a Foxtrot Games, Renegade Games game. And it is Lanterns, the Harvest Festival. Trying to see if I can find the designer on here, Christopher Chung. And this is another tile laying board game where you're putting tiles out into the center. You always have 3 tiles to choose from in your hand, and you're placing them out. And if you can match colors, there's a bonus. And some of the tiles have little platforms on them. And if you could match the colors on the tile that has a platform, you get a different kind of bonus. And you're trying to collect either 3 sets of 2 or 4 of a kind or 1 of every color of lantern. There's 7 different colors of lanterns on the tiles represented. And so it's just a pattern building tile laying game. I generally do enjoy those kinds of games, but nothing particularly stood out to me, but it was really easy to learn. It was fun to play. It took us, again, maybe 30 minutes max, 4 players. So it's a nice one to have in the collection. It's, like I said, it didn't really stand out amongst a lot of other really good tile layers, and yet there was a little bit of a uniqueness that every time you do play the tile, you not only get the lantern color card that matches any color you matched, but also everyone around the table gets the color that's on the side of the tile facing them. So that is a unique thing, I guess, about it that kind of keeps everybody involved, and you do have to think at a little bit different level there to decide, well, I might not even want to match the color here because if I do, that's going to give them exactly the color they need. So there's a little bit of that kind of, not really hate drafting, but hate playing, I guess, choosing a way to try to deny other players the benefits. So Lanterns, a nice little game, the Harvest Festival. Next one is the one I don't own but played at a game night with a bunch of friends, the Crown of Emara. And this one was another one that just took my brain a little while to wrap my head around. There's kind of 2 rondelles and you're choosing on each one when to move on this one and when to move on this one. And there's a lot of important timing decisions, and you're mostly gaining resources on one board and mostly gaining points on another board, points and cards. And those cards can kind of help you either break the rules or give you advantages or just gain you points. So it was a really interesting game. I honestly, it was early in the month. I don't actually even remember how well I did. I remember enjoying the game though. And I do think it was pretty close amongst the 4 of us, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it might have been the first time for almost all of us, 3 of the 4 maybe. But enjoyed it quite a bit, Crown of Emara. Next up, Castles of Burgundy. Let's see if I can show it over my shoulder. It looks like it's going to be better to go this way. So I have the large special edition, and always enjoy Castles of Burgundy, Stefan Feld game. This is the one that's by Awaken Realms and Aaliyah. So it's got all the fancy parts, although this month my one play of Castles of Burgundy was actually on BGA. So didn't even use the fancy version this month, but did enjoy it. It's one of my favorite games of all time, so Castles of Burgundy. I love the dice play. I love the decision making of the game and just timing everything out and trying to kind of race for certain tiles and maximize your points by beating people to certain objectives and tasks throughout the game. Really enjoy the Castles of Burgundy. Next up, another one we played last night, Big Boss. Big Boss is a game that is a lot like Acquire. It's a Wolfgang Kramer game. And I'm trying to remember who... Funko, I think, was the publisher for this one. But Big Boss I really enjoyed it. I like Acquire. It's another game where, kind of like Ra, in those types of games, I always feel like I'm not doing the right thing, and I always feel like I'm not making the right decisions, and yet somehow by the end I'm usually in the running. So yeah, I enjoy it, but I just never feel confident in that kind of game. There are other games that I do feel confident. Like I feel like I can always do well in Castles of Burgundy. I may not always win, but I feel like I can compete well. And there are certain games I just have a level of confidence. But for some reason, in those economic style games, I just always feel like, am I doing the right thing? And somehow it worked out well last night for me. So Big Boss was a lot of fun and a terrific production. It's like Acquire on steroids in terms of production, and a really beautiful game. Next up was one that I do own, and it is Ark Nova. And while I do have the physical game, this again is one that I played on BGA Board Game Arena this month. It's just so quick to play there. There's times I'm tempted to just pass on this game because it is a big box and it takes a lot of setup and it takes a lot of time to play when you play with the actual board game. But I love it so much I don't want to give it up. So, but it's just so convenient to play on BGA, where it takes a lot of the time out of the game in terms of moving things around and setting up, and just, I don't know, it seems like it speeds the game up and takes care of a lot of the nitty gritty. there are certain things about the BGA implementation that I wish it was easier to see the score track, and maybe there's features on there that I just haven't discovered or spent enough time to figure out. But there are definitely advantages to playing with the actual board game at times, but I just haven't gotten it to the table much, but I have played it on BGA a lot. So that's Ark Nova. Next up, another one that I own, Ticket to Ride Germany. And this is a recent addition to the collection. It's got a really interesting mechanism of having passengers out on the board. And whenever you create a train track, you can choose a passenger from each end if there are still passengers left. And it's kind of whoever has the most red passengers at the end gets a bonus, and whoever has second most, and then whoever has the most blue and second most and green, and so on and so forth. So just that additional little thinkiness to the game, as well as just a standard kind of Ticket to Ride play that's fun for us. I also had a really cool experience with the Ticket to Ride series. One of my colleagues at school teaches a game design class, and it's really focused on video game design, but he wants them to understand game mechanisms in general, and he's been having them play a variety of different card games and board games. So he had me come in as a guest speaker, and I brought in, they only had 9 students in the class, so I brought in 3 different versions of Ticket to Ride, and we had 3 different games of 3 players at each table. And so they got to try the American version, I got to try the German version. What was the other one I took? I think I had some extra trains from a variety of different sets, and I think I took the Asian board as well. Legendary Asia, I think, is what I had the third group play. And they had a good time. Only a couple of them had heard of the game, and only I think one of them had ever played it. So it's fun to let them kind of discover it and figure it out. And then they kind of shared what was different in the different versions of the game and what was similar. So Ticket to Ride Germany was one that I just played, but also got to teach Ticket to Ride in general to those students at my high school. So that was a lot of fun. Next up is Carnegie, and I don't own this game, but played it a couple times on BGA. In fact, I haven't quite finished the second play, so it's technically October 1st today, and we're not quite done, but I had already marked it in here. I think we'll be done in the next couple days, I think. So anyway, Carnegie's an interesting game, but I think it's Xavier Georges. It's one that also I just always feel like I'm a little lost. I haven't quite pieced it all together. And that's why I've wanted to play it again. I'd played it once with the actual physical board game maybe 6 months ago or so and enjoyed it, but just felt like I couldn't quite get the synergies and the connections and the sequencing correct. So then I tried it on my own on BGA, Board Game Arena, and just got smoked. And just I think I was doing solo and just got destroyed. But then I got into a game of playing that last game here with my friends, and I'm probably doing terrible again. I'm still just struggling with it, but I'm intrigued by it. It's a game that I want to keep coming back to until I can hopefully figure out how to sequence things the correct way. There's just something about the game that keeps drawing me back, but I don't feel like I understand it well yet. So Carnegie, really enjoying that one. The next one, played that one a couple times. Next one up is the Royal Limited, and recently received this as a review copy. And so I played this one 4 times so far. It's a Scott Alms game by Button Shy Games, and it's a solo game where you're building out this train and putting passengers into the train, and you're basically trying to get all your cards in play. If you can get all the cards in play, then you get the perfect score. And then if you're down to only 2, it's like you won, but you're not great. If you get to 4 or more cards left that you couldn't get into play, then you lose. And so, yeah, so far I think all 4 games I've got down to where I had 2 cards left. And so I haven't ever got it to where I was able to clear all the cards out. And there's some interesting things because most of the time you have to match colors of passengers with the trains, but when you're putting the train cards down, they can't match when you put them in sequence. And so there's an interesting pattern building, and then all the cards have a special function. And when you put a passenger in each car, you do that action if you can. And so you're trying to time out. And it's like certain passengers might need to be between other passengers that are both odd-numbered passengers, or between 2 other passengers that are even-numbered passengers, or 2 other passengers whose totals add up to 5 points or something like that. So really interesting puzzle of a game, and enjoying that. Played that one 4 times so far. I'll be playing it a few more times, and then probably doing a quick review video, a real short review, and maybe a solo. It's only a solo game, so do a playthrough of that perhaps on my channel here down the road. Now the last one I played the most times. So you can see a lot of those games I played once, a few of them I played twice. The Royal Limited I played 4 times. So how did I get to 45 gameplays? Well, 28 of them are actually My City Roll-In build, and so here's where it's kind of a cheat. I've played it only really technically 3 times, and one, if you could say in one way, because I've played one all the way through all 12 seasons or episodes, I think they're called. And I did that solo on Board Game Arena. And then I got with some friends online and we've been playing it through. And so I recorded all 12 of those as separate games, even though kind of it was just 12 episodes. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to compete with anybody on how many games I play each month, but each episode felt like a little mini game. So I just recorded them all 12 as separate. I don't know. And then I played, I think we're on episode 5 of the 12 with the game group that I'm playing with on BGA. And another Saturday in the midst of this month of September, I'm going to get online and play another solo round of it. And I just went through all 12 episodes. And I think, I played through all 12 episodes in maybe a little over an hour. It doesn't seem to take too long when you're playing it on BGA. You can just click pretty quickly. And I've had some good games and some bad games. It's fun. I played My City with my wife. We went through the whole, I think it was 24 episodes in that one, if I'm not mistaken, and that legacy version. And we enjoyed it, and we just played the two of us, and you can play with up to 4 people, so we passed it on to some friends so they could play as a couple. But yeah, the roll and build is fun. I don't think I would ever probably buy it, but it's fun to play on Board Game Arena. And so should I count it as 12 and 12 and 4, or should I count it as 3? Who knows and who cares? So anyway, I played that a lot over the month of September. And so that's the list of games and how many times I played each one. And now for my favorite games of the month. So my favorite game that was not new to me that I played this month is the Castles of Burgundy, the one over my shoulder here. Just one of my favorite games of all time. And so every time I get a chance to play it, I'm excited about it. And I'm sure part of that comes from I do feel like I understand that game, and so I feel like I can always be competitive. But I think another part of it is just the way things mesh together. It's satisfying for the way my brain works. And so I just really love the Castles of Burgundy. So that's my favorite game, not new to me. The favorite game that was new to me is one that I don't own, but that is Sunrise Lane. And I enjoyed several other ones too. Like I said, I enjoyed Set a Watch, I enjoyed Lanterns, I enjoyed Crown of Emara, lots of other ones, Big Boss. But I have to say, Sunrise Lane, there's just something about many of Reiner Knizia's designs, and he has so many different kinds of designs, but there's just something about many of his games that I connect with them. I don't know if it's the mathematics aspect of it. Some of them don't feel as mathematical, but I don't know. I really enjoyed Sunrise Lane and would like to play that one again. Like I said, I could see myself potentially picking that one up at some point. It's so quick and easy, but it's thinky and puzzly at the same time, so you can get a good thinky, puzzly game in 20, 30 minutes. And so that just really appeals to me to have some games like that in my collection. And it's a kind of a nice production. I feel like there's a few things they maybe could have done a little bit differently, but it still looks good on the table and plays really well. So those are my favorite games of the month. Down in the comments below, I would love to hear what were your favorite games of the month of September 2023. What was the game you played the most in 2023? Did you play any of the games that I played? Do we have any overlaps? So I'm curious to see what your comments are and if we had any things in common. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up, and it would be terrific if you'd choose to subscribe to the channel as well. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.